Welcome back, coin collectors. Today, we're diving into an exciting subject in the world of rare coins, the Washington quarter dollar. But we're not just talking about any Washington quarters. We're zooming in on those that have attracted significant attention and high bids at auctions. Let's get started. First, let's take a look at one particularly fascinating Washington quarter, the 1968 Washington quarter dollar, without a mint mark, especially those in good to fine condition. This coin has garnered interest from collectors for its rarity and historical significance, making it one of the more valuable quarters from this period. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to mark George Washington's 200th birthday. The design, which has stayed consistent over the decades, features a left-facing portrait of Washington by artist John Flanagan on the obverse, with the reverse showcasing an eagle perched on an olive branch. By 1968, this design was still in use, though the coin's production underwent significant shifts, influenced by economic changes and the social climate of the time. 1968 was a pivotal year in U.S. history, marked by political unrest, space exploration milestones, and the growing effects of inflation. Despite these challenges, the U.S. Mint continued to strike coins with subtle variations, and the Washington quarter of this year stands out for its unique characteristics. The 1968 Washington quarter, with no mint mark and in fine condition, has become increasingly valuable at auction. Its price largely hinges on its scarcity in higher-grade conditions, especially given that collectors tend to seek out coins that are well-struck and free from damage. In fine condition, the 1969 Washington quarter with no mint mark has become highly prized at auctions. Its value is directly linked to its rarity in higher quality states, as collectors often search for clean, well-struck examples. This coin can command prices as high as $38,000, with those in uncirculated condition going for even more. The demand for coins from this era, especially those with distinctive features or production anomalies, drives its value. In particular, the lack of a mint mark on this coin makes it especially sought after. While there were no major minting errors associated with this piece, its unique attributes like the absence of a mint mark set it apart from other coins of the time. Despite a mintage of over 100 million for the 1968 Washington quarter, very few have survived in fine or excellent condition. This makes those that are in good quality particularly valuable. The quarter's design remained nearly identical to the earlier models, with Washington's portrait and the eagle on the reverse, but collectors pay particular attention to small details like the absence of a mint mark. The absence of the mint mark on this coin, combined with its status as a piece from a critical historical moment, increases its desirability. Coins from the late 1960s that feature subtle variations often draw interest from collectors, making this quarter highly regarded. Overall, the 1968 Washington quarter stands out not just because of its design, but because of its rarity in fine condition. With fewer examples surviving in great shape, it represents an accessible entry point into coin collecting for those who want a piece of history without breaking the bank, while still offering long-term investment potential for. Next up is the 1979 Washington quarter dollar. Like the 1969 piece, the 1979 quarter has become a significant coin for collectors, although it differs in terms of its condition and rarity. This specific coin, in good condition with a large date and no mint mark, has caught the attention of collectors for its own set of unique features. Let's dive deeper into this fascinating coin. By the late 1970s, the United States was dealing with economic challenges such as stagflation, which resulted in an increase in both unemployment and inflation. The government began to look for ways to address these economic problems, which included policy changes and adjustments to coinage production. The 1979 Washington quarter was part of a series of coins minted during this transitional period, and while it wasn't particularly rare in itself, certain features of this coin make it a standout in today's market. The Washington quarter of 1979 continued to feature the classic design by John Flanagan, celebrating the nation's first president. However, the production of these quarters occurred under very different economic conditions than in earlier decades, which is part of what makes them interesting to today's collectors. Despite its relatively high mintage compared to other rare coins, the 1979 Washington quarter with the large date has gained a considerable market value in the numismatic world. In good condition, this quarter can fetch a price between $29,000 depending on the market and the coin's individual characteristics. The coin's appeal stems from a combination of its larger-than-usual date and the absence of a mint mark. These elements, which may seem subtle at first, have become highly collectible features for numismatists looking for specific variations of a coin from this era. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for these quarters in good condition, especially if they are free of significant wear and tear. In terms of mintage, the 1979 Washington quarter saw production of over 40 million coins, making it a relatively common coin in general circulation. However, the coin's large date format, as well as the lack of a mint mark, makes it more collectible than other quarters produced during the same year. While it's not a particularly rare coin overall, its unusual characteristics make it highly desirable among coin collectors. The obverse design of the coin remains true to the original Washington quarter, with George Washington's portrait on the front. The reverse side, depicting an eagle holding an olive branch, also remains unchanged. But it's the large date format that sets this coin apart from other quarters in the same series. The large, bold numerals in the date make this coin an interesting and distinct variety that appeals to collectors who specialize in U.S. coinage from the late 20th century. Collectors show a great deal of interest in Washington quarters from this period, particularly those with unique design features, such as the large date. While the 1979 Washington quarter doesn't contain major mint errors or flaws, the absence of a mint mark and the variation in the date size set it apart from many other coins from this era. The fact that this coin is in good condition, despite its relatively high mintage, further drives its demand. Coins in good condition are often considered more affordable and attainable than those in pristine or uncirculated states, yet they still hold significant value in the market due to their unique features. Next up, the 1965 Washington quarter dollar was produced during a pivotal moment in U.S. history. The country was facing a major coin shortage due to silver depletion, which led to the decision to eliminate silver from circulating coinage. In response to rising costs and the need for more cost-effective coin production, the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition for quarters and dimes beginning in 1965. This marked the beginning of a new era in U.S. coinage. While the 1965 Washington quarter wasn't initially seen as particularly special, the large date variety has become a sought-after coin by collectors. The switch to a clad composition, coupled with the large date design, gives this coin historical significance, especially when considering the broader economic and numismatic context of the time. As with other Washington quarters, the 1965 design features John Flanagan's classic rendering of George Washington on the obverse. The reverse design, showing the eagle in flight, has remained unchanged since the 1932 debut of the coin. What makes the 1965 Washington quarter particularly interesting for collectors is the large date variety. In 1965, the U.S. Mint produced two variations of the quarter, one with a smaller date and one with a larger date. The large date was minted for a brief period before being replaced by the smaller date design. This quick transition gives the large date version a unique place in the series, as it is rarer than the more common smaller date design. The total mintage of 1965 Washington quarters was incredibly high, with over 1.8 billion coins struck across all minting facilities. However, the large date version is rarer, with estimates suggesting that only a fraction of these coins were struck with the large date. While the 1965 large date is certainly not the rarest coin in the Washington quarter series, it has gained attention from collectors for its role in the transition from silver to clad coinage and its distinctive large date design. In extra fine condition, a 1965 Washington quarter large date without mint mark is valued at approximately $20,000 to $1,000. This price can rise if the coin is particularly well preserved or if it is sold through a high-profile auction. Coins in higher grades, such as O or MS mint state, can command much higher prices, often exceeding $27,000 or more. Some auction sales for 1965 large date quarters have reached as high as $20,000 to $1,000 or more. When in excellent condition, the market value of the 1965 Washington quarter is driven not just by its rarity, but also by the increased interest in the transition from silver to clad coinage. With the U.S. Mint's move away from using silver in most circulating coins, the 1965 Washington quarter marks a significant change in American coinage history. Though the 1965 Washington quarter is most notable for its large date design, it also has a range of potential errors that attract collectors. Double die errors, where the design appears multiple times on the coin, and die cracks are some of the common issues found in 1965 quarters. These errors, particularly when found on the large date version, can increase the value of the coin substantially. Collectors are especially drawn to coins with high-quality strikes or unique variations. A 1965 Washington quarter with a sharp strike and clear large date design is in high demand, particularly from those interested in completing a series or acquiring historical coins. Next up, we have the 1967 Washington quarter dollar, particularly the large date version, without a mint mark. This coin, though it may seem like a common find in your pocket change, has gained significant value in recent years, especially in specific conditions. Today, we're going to break down the historical context of this coin, its design features, the mintage, and what makes it valuable in today's market. The Washington quarter dollar was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design of this coin has remained relatively consistent, with the image of George Washington by John Flanagan on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. However, the years 1965 to 1967 were a transitional period for U.S. coins, marked by the government's need to reduce the silver content in coins due to a national silver shortage. In 1965, the United States government made the drastic decision to remove silver from most coins, with the exception of silver dollars and half dollars. This decision significantly impacted the Washington quarter dollar, as prior to 1965, the coin contained 90% silver. Post-1965, the Washington quarter became a copper-nickel alloy coin with only a small percentage of silver content, which had an impact on its value as a precious metal coin. The 1967 Washington quarter, like its counterparts from 1965 and 1966, was struck without silver. However, what makes the 1967 version particularly interesting is the large date variety. This version was made with a noticeably larger date, which became a distinguishing feature of the coin for collectors. The obverse of the 1967 Washington quarter features a portrait of George Washington, facing left. This design is nearly identical to the original design, created by John Flanagan for the 1932 coin. The coin reads, "Liberty," above Washington's head, with "In God We Trust" on the left side, and the year 1967 prominently displayed below. The reverse features an eagle perched on an olive branch, with the words United States of America above and E Pluribus Unum below. What sets the 1967 Washington quarter apart is the size of the date. The large date variety was the result of the production process, with a larger die being used in the minting process, causing the date to be more prominent compared to earlier versions. The 1967 Washington quarter had a mintage of over 1.5 billion coins, which at first glance might make it seem like a very common coin. However, there are fewer examples of the large date variety, as this was a limited issue that caught the attention of collectors over time. The mintage of the 1967 quarter was substantial, but because of the introduction of the copper-nickel composition, fewer people held on to the quarters as a form of investment. Most were spent as currency, which means that finding a high-quality 1967 large-date Washington quarter in excellent condition is relatively rare. Despite its large mintage, the 1967 Washington quarter with the large date in circulated condition can fetch anywhere from $45,000, depending on its wear and overall condition. A coin in extra fine condition can be worth upwards of $50,000, while coins in uncirculated or mint state can fetch as much as $55,000 or more at auction. The reason for its value, especially in circulated condition, is due to the low survival rate of these coins in higher grades, coupled with the appeal of the large date variety among collectors. Although the 1967 Washington quarter is not known for having any major minting errors, the large date version has sparked significant interest due to its unique design. Collectors often seek out coins that feature design variations or distinctive features, making the 1967 Washington quarter in this variety especially desirable. Many collectors also gravitate towards coins from the 1960s because of the historical context surrounding the removal of silver from coins. As silver prices rose dramatically in the 1970s and 1980s, people began to pay closer attention to the numismatic value of coins like the Washington quarter. Thanks for joining us. Happy collecting!